Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Band Rants channel, your home for NFL projections, predictions, and of course, your periodic rant. And in this video, we're going to be talking about my Week 3 results, how I did in the month of September as a whole with some of these teams, and where I see their potential short-term future going for the month of October, because of course that's in a couple of days. But before I get into all of that, I'm going to go into some potential Week 4 flips, Week 3 results, and Week 5 potential upsets. Before I get into all of that, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a comment down below, and if there's something you want to see me comment on or make a video on, please leave it in the comments below, and we'll go ahead and start. So, looking at my picks for Week 3, honestly, interconference, I almost got perfect. I missed the Saints and Patriots game. I did not see the Saints pulling that one out in Gillette. It's almost weird to see the Patriots 0-2 at home. They're a very good home team. So this is a bit of a weird dynamic for me. AFC and NFC, I was never going to guess Chargers over the Chiefs or Bengals over the Steelers, more importantly. Chargers over the Chiefs, I could understand, but Bengals over the Steelers, I could have never guessed in a million years. NFC, the two games I missed were honestly really hard to pick. Falcons over the Giants, I could have understood. Rams over Tampa, I could easily understand. But it was really hard to choose between the two. Having said that, for the rest of these, I did pretty well. I got the Raiders over the Dolphins. I got the Titans over the Colts. I had the Packers and Vikings pulling off upsets. And I had all the rest of the games correct. So not too bad for Week 3. And looking at Week 4, my picks for Week 4, I can already tell you right now, just from a glance, that the interconference I'm going to leave the same. Even if Tampa does pull it out over New England, which they're favored to do, I'm more than happy leaving this as Patriots over Tampa. I just have a feeling not to count New England out. And the last time I had a feeling, it was the Week 1 game with the Cardinals and Titans. Everybody laughed at me when I picked Cardinals over the Titans, and everyone said the Titans would win that game. I had a lot of angry Titans fans at me in the comments, and I said no, that the Cardinals were going to pull it out, and they did. Now, Tennessee's done very well since then, and after this, they'd be 3-1. They'd be winning 3 straight, which is reasonable. But, this game as a whole is just different. You could say this is a really hard choice to make, but honestly, looking at this entire list, first of all, I'm going to flip the Colts and Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to probably lose the next game without Tua Tagovailoa, and I think Carson Wentz really is going to get a win. I think he's going to start October on a high note. It's almost impossible to think the Colts can go 0-4. The Dolphins are probably the easiest matchup they've had so far, and I really think they can win it. And over here, it's almost tempting to flip the 49ers, but I just don't see Seattle losing 3 in a row. And I really think Seattle can bounce back and keep themselves, in the mix of the wild card / NFC West mix. Now, Cardinals and Rams is actually not the hardest game. It's Panthers and Cowboys. If you look at this list, you can make some easy picks like, Denver could pull it out at home, or the Chargers could pull off the upset, or the Browns can probably win. But honestly, these two are a really hard choice. I'm going with the Panthers to lose in Jerry World because the Cowboys are just a different kind of team at home, which is a stupid reason, but just hear me out for a minute. This game could easily go to Carolina, and it's really hard. I could even flip this before Sunday, so stay tuned for that in the comments. But if I do, I'll leave it in the comments that it's a flip. But Carolina has 10 days of rest, and more importantly, they're already in the Texas area because they just played Houston in Week 3, which is obviously as close to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium as you can get without being the Dallas Cowboys themselves. So they have an extra 3 days of rest, but they also don't have Christian McCaffrey. So that's another reason why I can't pick the Panthers right now, but I also am open to suggestions on how to change my mind in that. Dallas, even though they're on a short week and don't have DeMarcus Lawrence, that's where the challenge is, because the Panthers' running game has not been lost. It's not been the same without Christian McCaffrey. That's unreasonable to think it would be, but it hasn't gone away. Chuba Hubbard has done a great job, and honestly, Matt Rule has done a great job with Sam Darnold, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I've said from day one, Sam Darnold is going to be a quarterback to watch this year because with Carolina, he has a chance to be something special, to show if he has a lot more in the tank and a lot more to offer than the NFL as a whole gave him credit for. I think he got a bum rap with Adam Gase. I think that much like Ryan Tannehill, once he got away from there, he'd be even better and actually show that he was worth a first-round pick, and he's done that this year. He couldn't have had a better September. I mean, sure, he could have thrown 4 touchdowns every game, but to finish off 3-0, especially against the Saints, with being one of those games, the champion of the NFC South last year, I mean, I can't think of a better way to finish off September, honestly. And could they pull off the upset in week 4 against the Cowboys? It's possible. This is a really tough one. I'm struggling. I'm going to leave it as Dallas for now, but that's a really tricky game. Now, looking at the entire NFL as a whole, where this would leave us, it would only leave us with 2 4-0 teams, the Raiders and the Rams, and neither of them play each other this year. So that's interesting. You know, the Raiders right now would have some very key tiebreakers should this all play out. They'd have a tiebreaker over the Ravens, over Pittsburgh, who is fallen by the wayside at this point, over Miami if they decide to sort of make a sort of resurgence during October, November, and over the Chargers, who have looked very, very above fair weather. I think at first they were sort of lame duck against the Washington football team, and then Dallas, they held their own, but they looked great this week against the Chiefs. And I think they're going to really keep it interesting in Los Angeles on a Monday night with the lights on bright. So that's going to be a really fun game to watch. A lot of these are. I mean, everyone's obviously saying that, Bucks and Patriots will be the most fun to watch. And, to a few it might be because Goatman great. But honestly, looking at this just from a record and roster standpoint, I don't think so. I think Panthers-Cowboys has some appeal. I think Raiders-Chargers has appeal. I think even Cardinals and Rams has appeal. I mean, it's 2 3-0 teams going against each other. That's fun, man. And one of them's going to be 4-0. That's awesome. But is it time to be concerned about teams that have fallen to 1-3 by this point? Teams like Pittsburgh, teams like if the Seahawks lose, would it be time to be concerned about them? Teams like Chicago, teams like the Dolphins, the Colts, who would win this week, but I mean, Pittsburgh, I think, is going to be in a lot of trouble because if you look at their schedule up until their bye, other than the Seahawks, their schedule is not doing them any favors. You have Green Bay, who's coming off of a big win this past week against the 49ers. They could easily win in Lambeau. They've never lost in Lambeau. They've only played one game there, fine. But, I mean, the Steelers, in my opinion, are just not an offensive package that can keep it interesting with these kinds of teams. Now, going up against Denver, that could go either way. The Steelers could pull that one out maybe, but it all depends on how their offense shapes up. And so far, I don't think it will. Now, as far as Cleveland goes against Minnesota, I could be being a bit harsh on them. Honestly, they could flip this game. But I think the Browns are due for a reality check. And they could very well win in Los Angeles and lose to Arizona and maybe even Denver at this point. But, I don't know. I really don't know about the Browns. I think the Browns will be 9 wins. I called that from day one. And honestly, for anybody thinking that I've been hard on the Browns, keep in mind, I've had their schedule exactly correct. I had them winning the last 2, losing against the Chiefs. And the way Minnesota played this week, I think they can keep it interesting with the Browns. I think that the Browns secondary is going to have trouble with the wide receivers from the Vikings. I think without Dalvin Cook, it's going to be a challenge, but it's not impossible to win if you're the Minnesota Vikings. So that's what I've got for week 4. And obviously, I'm going to be making some more videos on potential teams that have a lot to worry about coming into the month of October. But I hope you guys enjoyed football in the month of September. I know I have. And I'll see you guys in the next one.